Thank you, Chair. Today's witness is Mr. Len Barnabas John.
Good morning, Mr. John.
Good morning, Commissioner.
Will you be swearing or affirming?
Swearing, Commissioner.
Do you swear that the evidence you're going to give is the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth? If so, please raise your right hand and say, "So help me God."
So help me God.
Thank you.
They also accuse Bevan of threatening to kill Captain Valley of SAPS Brighton Beach. According to Gregory Loftus, Lieutenant Colonel Dina Govender and Warrant Officer Sivan Naidu said that they had come to the property not to arrest Bevan, but to kill him. And they allegedly told Gregory Loftus that he should get Bevan's funeral insurance up to date because they were going to kill Bevan. They again searched the home of Bevan Loftus and again arrested Gregory Loftus. On the 1st of April 2023, a day after Gregory Loftus had issued his interdict application, members of the task team under the command of Lieutenant Colonel Dina Govender arrived at the flat in Morningside, Durban, where they believed Bevan Loftus was hiding. The task team entered the flat. They alleged that Bevan Loftus and the other 4 occupants shot at the police, and they returned fire, fatally wounding all 5. Despite allegedly being shot at by 5 suspects, none of the members of the task team suffered any gunshot injuries, or indeed any other injuries. The shooting of the 5 occupants occurred between 12:30 and 1300 hours on the 1st of April. IPID officials on standby were only called out 14:35. IPID members on standby arrived at the scene at 1500 hours. On arrival of the IPID investigator, Ms. Fortunate Ndembele, she was allowed entrance to the scene as the members from the local criminal record center was waiting to process the scene. Ms. Fortunate Ndembele stated that Lieutenant Colonel Dina Govender was present outside the scene, and she requested to speak to the members who were involved in the shooting. Lieutenant Colonel Dina Govender indicated that the members had already left the crime scene. No one knew the whereabouts of the members. The scene was processed whilst IPID officials were present. The docket was subsequently registered and the investigations were taken over by IPID KZN.
Can I take you up on one issue? You say that none of the members of the task team suffered any gunshot injuries or indeed any other injuries.
Yes, in fact, one member that was Pedro Rodriguez, his bulletproof vest had a gunshot hole right at the bottom. So there was one gunshot hole, which he alleges that was at the same incident. He was shot on that bulletproof vest.
And did he suffer any injuries on the day?
No, no injuries.
Was there other evidence other than the injuries, evidence that the police were shot at, such as used cartridges, holes on the walls,
yes,
damage to the property?
Yes, there were cartridges found from various firearms. The evidence of the cartridges found at the fire on the scene of those various cartridges is still being tested because Bevan Loftus had his own firearm, his private firearm. And one would, if you have a private firearm, you would not use an unlicensed firearm if you're defending yourself. Or if you're shooting at the police, you wouldn't use an unlicensed firearm. You would use your own private firearm. The issue here is that they did not know that police were coming to the flat because they did not give permission to anyone to come to the flat. Because remember, I indicated earlier on, is that the occupants of the premises must indicate to the security downstairs that they can allow people to come up. So they did not allow or indicate to the security for anyone to come up. They only indicated to one person, who was the person that was picked up by the police in Pinetown. They picked him up for a shooting that happened at Greenwood Park. And when they interrogated him, he indicated that he knows where Bevan resides, or where they were in hiding. So they took him to the flat, and basically he was the one that requested for permission to come up. So they knew that the person that's coming up is well known to them. So they would not be armed to start shooting at their own friend that's coming to visit them. So when the person went in, he knocked on the door and he went inside, then the shooting took place. Now he was first in line when he got into the house, but he was not shot at, he was not injured. But if you look at the photo album of the shooting, the police indicated that they retreated into hiding when they were shooting, but the 4 deceased was lying in a line. They were all lined up and they were shot at. If you see, some of the deceased have water on the clothing, it points out that they may have been tortured first and then killed from the photos that we have seen.
So you are implying that the scene was staged?
That's correct. And if you look at the photos, you will be able to determine some of those things. I don't want to go too much in detail because the case is still ongoing. Even the post-mortem reports show that the shooting was from top to bottom. The post-mortem reports. What was also that gives us an indication that this could have been an hit is that the photos of the deceased at the crime scene circulated on social media even before even before LCRC, the local criminal record center, could get to the scene. The photos already circulated on social media. And that's how the families of the deceased came to know that their children died in that shooting. Now, it could have been that the photos were circulated to one person to say that we've done the hit now, you can do the payment. And that person could have sent it to everyone via his social media. That could be the reason why those photos went out.
I want clarification on 2 issues. You say they were lined up. The bodies were lined up. Can you explain what exactly you mean? Just explain being lined up.
They were lined up next to each other.
Chair, the pictures are in the bundle. They shouldn't be displayed.
No, yeah.
But maybe if I can ask you to look at file 2, page 699.
699.
$699.
That's correct. The Independent Police Investigative Directorate. So it was basically a name change and the change of the mandate of the Independent Police Investigative Directorate under the Independent Police Investigative Directorate Act 1 of 2011. So I've been in the Independent Police Investigative Directorate to my current date, and I am the Deputy Director of Investigations, and I report to the provincial head, or the provincial head of the office, who is Ms. Charmaine van der Sant.
And you set out in paragraph 16 the mandate of IPID. Can you take us through paragraph 16 to 18, where you set out the mandate of IPID and what your specific responsibilities are?
Okay, the Independent Police Investigative Directorate receives its mandate under Section 28 of the IPID Act, Act 1 of 2011, which sets out the type of matters to be investigated by the Directorate. Subsection 1 provides the Directorate must investigate inter alia any deaths in police custody. Section 28(1)(b) is any deaths as a result of police action. Section 28(1)(c), any complaint relating to the discharge of an official firearm by any police officer. Section 28(1)(f) is any complaint of torture or assault against a police officer in the execution of his or her duties. As the Deputy Director Investigations, I ensure that the members from the investigation component are well versed in the mandate of the Independent Police Investigative Directorate as contained in the IPID Act, Act 1 of 2011, the regulations and the standard operating procedures of the Directorate. I am required to provide guidance to investigators on a regular basis on the duties pertaining to inter alia, the investigation of complaints, attendance at crime scenes and the completion of crime scene reports, identifying, securing, safeguarding, collecting, packaging, and forwarding of exhibits to the relevant forensic science laboratories, analyzing evidence, compiling departmental recommendations reports to the South African Police Service, and criminal recommendation reports to the National Prosecuting Authority, and the finalization and archiving of dockets.
If we move over to page 6, if we move over to page 6, you talk about the increase in extrajudicial killings, and can you take the Commission through paragraph 19? I don't think you need to read out the details of the table that follows, but maybe
4 of the IPID Act, Act 1 of 2011, to attend crime scenes. When IPID investigators arrive at the crime scene, they will take over the crime scene and together with the SAPS duty officer will conduct a walk through the crime scene without tampering or destroying any evidence. At times, the crime scene is already being attended by members of the local criminal record center. IPID investigators are mandated to ensure that exhibits are photographed, indexed, protected, preserved, packed, seized, and transported to the relevant forensic science laboratory. Investigators remain in the crime scene until the bodies of the deceased are collected by members of the medical legal mortuaries. IPID investigators are tasked to attend postmortems for the collection of exhibits retrieved during the postmortems and to make notes pertaining to the cause of death. Investigators are mandated to retrieve and analyze postmortem reports and present as evidence in the criminal and departmental proceedings.
And then you discuss the challenges that you encounter as IPID. Can you take the Commission through paragraph 24?
Okay. The challenges presented to IPID investigators pertaining to crime scenes include the following. Some scenes are not attended immediately due to the distance the scenes are from the office. For example, scenes within a a radius of 150 kilometers are attended on the same day. However, scenes outside the 150 kilometer radius are attended only on the day the postmortem will be conducted.
Sorry, you appeared to state this categorically, as it were, but I would imagine that what you mean is that generally, because otherwise it sounds rather mechanical. For example, if a scene that's 149 kilometers from your office can be attended on the same day, why is that not the case with a scene that's 151 kilometers from your office? If you see what I mean. So all I'm saying is perhaps you should say generally.
Generally.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner, the problems that we have when scenes are far away is that the station normally contacts us, like maybe they will contact us half an hour after they receive the report, or maybe even an hour after they receive the report. Now, for us to get to the scene, if it's going to take more than an hour or more than an hour and a half, it becomes difficult, even for the police to be on the scene. But I did highlight it here in my. So some scenes are not attended due to the volatile area, and when members of the SAPS come under attack by the members of the public, these scenes are attended on the day of the postmortem. So if the scene is far away from our office, and we get it, then we would request them to leave the scene, and we do a reconstruction when we do the postmortem. In some cases, SAPS officials deliberately delay the contacting of IPID officials, raising suspicion that they want to tamper with the crime scene, for example, by planting of weapons and primary residue on the deceased. At scenes where task teams are involved in the shooting, almost without exception, there are delays. We did identify this in our investigations, and through the and when reports are made, we did identify the task teams generally delay, and we have taken it up with the commanders of those task teams, but we still have that delay in reporting. IPID has identified that media personnel are regularly contacted prior to IPID officials being notified of killings. There are instances where IPID learns of SAPS killings through social media posted by journalists. So when you look at your Facebook page, you'll see a shooting that happened even in Inanda, which is not even 30 kilometers from the office. You learn of it via social media, and when you get there, you'll see a reporter on the scene. There have been instances where members involved in shootings where members of the public are killed, they leave the crime scene with the firearms before IPID attends the scene. And this prevents IPID from uplifting primary residue from the members and complicates the matters with respect to the inspection of the firearms. So we do have that instance where the shooters, they leave the crime scene, citing that their lives are in danger whilst they wait for IPID. So we do have a problem in that aspect.
Mr. John, what is the applicable protocol practically? So you have a scene, there's just been a shooting now. As between the SAPS and the IPID, what is the agreed rule of operation when that has happened?
Commissioner, the shooter has to remain on the scene because he is part of the crime scene, which means that we have to do a primary residue test on him. We have to inspect the firearm. We have to count the number of rounds that he has in his possession versus the number of rounds that when he came on duty. So when a member is not there, it's very difficult for us to deal with that aspect of investigation.
And who is responsible for calling IPID, informing IPID of the incident?
The first respondent that comes to the crime scene, once the respondent knows that the matter belongs to IPID.
Do you know why they only call when they get to the scene?
Commissioner, I believe they get to the scene to ascertain what happened at the scene before they call IPID. But that should not be the case. They should, when they get called and they are informed that there is a shooting by the police, and this is an IPID-related matter, they're supposed to immediately call radio control and inform radio control to call us.
Yes, because I would imagine with such matters, you don't want to lose time. You want to get to the scene immediately to start collecting evidence.
That's correct, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Just following up from that, Mr. John, as I read 29(1) of the Act, well, let me read it out. The station commander or any member of the SAPS or municipal police service must, A, immediately after becoming aware, notify the directorate of any matters referred to in 28(1)A to F, and 28(1)B is a death as a result of police action.
That's correct.
So it's a duty that rests on any member of the SAPS, including the shooter, him or herself.
That's correct.
And then what we see in Chapter 9 of the IPID Act, Section 33(3), there is actually an offence created. Any police officer who fails to comply with Section 29 is guilty of an offence.
Yes.
Are you aware of any prosecutions of that offence in Section 33(3) of the IPID Act?
We have opened cases under Section 33, contravention of Section 40, contravention of Section 29 of the IPID Act. Chair, in many of those cases, the SPP declined to prosecute, citing that the act was a new act at that time in 2012, 2013, 2014. They cited that we have to produce evidence that the member is aware of the act, because we cannot charge if the member was not aware of the act. So that was many of our cases were declined to prosecute because of that.
But, I mean, in the context about which we're talking, these task teams, where your evidence is we're dealing with a repeated problem here. Have you raised this issue? I mean, I presume that the commanders of these task teams are by now well aware of Section 29 of the Act.
Yeah.
And have you pursued attempts to prosecute any commanders who repeatedly contravene Section 29?
We have cases which we are investigating with the actual shooting in the list that I've provided. We have some of those cases where we were not called to the scene, totally not called to the scene, and only came to know about the scene a day later. So we have open cases, and those cases are being investigated together with the shooting.
And from my understanding of your answer to Commission being finalized?
None as finalized in court as yet.
If we move then to the next topic, which is starts at the foot of page 14, you're detailing the experiences that you encounter in relation to the cash in transit task team. Maybe if you can take the Commission through what you say in paragraph 25.
Okay, in the majority of shootings involving alleged CIT suspects, the task team under Lieutenant Colonel Dina Govender has been involved. The facts of this case bear a striking similarity. The consistent pattern is the following. Task team members indicate that they receive information from SAPS crime intelligence pertaining to the whereabouts of suspects involved in CITs. The information received is generally not verified with reference to any other investigation, case docket, or investigating officers or detectives in charge of such cases. The commander of the task team then plans an operation on the information allegedly received. These operations are frequently planned to be undertaken between 11 o'clock, 2300 hours to 300 hours in the morning, a time where there is a reduced likelihood of witnesses being present to observe any wrongdoing by the members of the SAPS. The members on most of these operations are wearing civilian clothing and or balaclavas or face masks without any SAPS insignia. Despite the fact that they have apparently chosen deliberately not to wear uniform that would identify themselves as police officers, the members always claim that when they approach the premises of the alleged CIT suspects, they introduce themselves in an audible manner, indicating that they are police officers. They then invade the premises of the alleged CIT suspects. They allege that they come under fire from the suspects and they return fire in self-defense. In most of the crime scenes where alleged CIT suspects are shot and killed by police, all suspects and occupants present when the shooting takes place are killed by the task team, leaving no witness to the operation other than the members of the task team themselves. No high-caliber fire explosives, components to manufacture explosives, or money has been found at any of the CIT shootings. IPID usually find only homemade firearms, pistols, or revolvers, which are allegedly pointed out by the police officers implicated in the shooting of the suspects. The SAPS commander in charge of the task teams is frequently unable to provide the names or identities of the suspects who are killed. Very rarely are they able to provide the SAPS case number in which the suspects or deceased are allegedly implicated in the CIT robberies, leaving a suspicion that the so-called suspects killed during these operations may not have even been involved in any CIT robberies.
I have two follow-up questions. The first is, these are all general statements. Has IPID done any statistical analysis? Can you, is there anywhere where we can get detail in relation to these general statements?
Chair, in these cases that we are investigating, I indicated the 77 cases that we're investigating. In majority of the cases, you'll not have the name of the deceased. When you go to the crime scene, the commander of the task team that is present will indicate to you that the deceased are unknown. In some of the cases, when we get case numbers which are provided, we go to the stations, relevant stations, and we pick up the dockets. When we pick up the dockets, you will not even find the name of the deceased in those dockets.
No, I understand the proposition that you're putting forward there, but has IPID, as it were, done any statistical gathering of information so that you can describe, just at a simple level, how many of those 77 cases that we see in your table were there deceased people who were not linked to any dockets cited by the team?
In fact, in all those 77 cases, the 77 cases, the dockets that we peruse cannot link the deceased to the initial cases that were opened.
In every single one?
In every single case.
You're telling...
Particular house where they suspected to be the suspects that were involved in the cash in transit.
Yeah.
So they get the information during the day, but they plan the operation to go through the night. And living in KZN, it's very difficult to go do operations at night, especially in the informal settlements, because it's dangerous to do these operations. So when they go to those premises, they allege that they come under fire, and they fire back. Now, if you see at the cash in transits that take place, we know that these cash in transit robbers are highly trained. They are highly trained. They're not these normal robbers that you will get on the street. They are highly trained, and they use high caliber firearms. But when you go and you look at the deceased that is lying down in that informal settlement, you're finding a homemade firearm, you're finding a revolver or a pistol, and you can see that these deceased that are there, we're not even ready to go anyway. They in the pajamas or underpants, and they're sleeping. So they were not expecting for police to come in order to shoot at the police. And it's surprising that police can go and say that they're going to look for cash in transit robbers, knowing fully well that they have high-powered firearms, and they will go all out to shoot because they are linked to cash in transit, that you go and you knock on the door and you say, we're police. It's surprising that they will do that. Because you know, as soon as you knock at the door at cash in transit robbers, you're going to come under fire with high caliber firearms, because they are cash in transit suspects. So that is why I'm saying the suspects that are killed, there is no linkage that they are the ones involved in cash in transit.
Thank you. I hear you on the modus operandi. My issue, and you responded, so I'm not asking for any further response. My issue just related to the point you were making about the dockets, the information or lack of it in the dockets. You've already responded, and
This falls into the category that we're just discussing.
Paragraph 44.
Yes.
Okay. Commissioner, in this case, members of the Colonel Governor's task team were on duty on Saturday, the 2nd of March, 2024, and at about 1 o'clock, the members proceeded on an operation to arrest an alleged CIT suspect. Information was received from crime intelligence that the suspect was planning a CIT robberies in Eastern Cape. That is what Colonel Governor informed the IPED investigators, that the information they received was this suspect was planning to do a cash in transit in Eastern Cape. The suspect went into hiding.
Sorry, can I just stop you at that point? What degree of information would be required before you were able to arrest someone for planning CIT robberies in the Eastern Cape?
Well, you have to do a proper investigation, like put surveillance on the person, apply for a court order to tap their phones, to listen into the conversations if you have that. You can't just get information that the person is planning to do cash in transit and then go to arrest him. You're arresting him on what? There's no crime that he didn't commit any crime. He's only planning to do it. But you still have to show that he's planning to do it. Now, they received information that he was planning to commit cash in transit in Eastern Cape, and they rushed out to his premises.
So at that stage, at that early stage, when you are doing the surveillance, I would imagine you don't open a police case.
You can open an inquiry, Commissioner.
An inquiry?
Yes, a police inquiry.
Oh.
And then you can, with the inquiry, you can apply for a court order. You can apply for a Section 205 with an inquiry. And then you can, from your inquiry, it will indicate whether is part of a cash in transit group.
And can I ask, in this particular case, are you aware whether there was any inquiry opened, whether there was any docket opened?
Nothing.
Is it
In area.
is it not?
Due to having received death threats, he subsequently rented a holiday cottage with his girlfriend. The members allege that they received information that the suspect was in possession of at least one firearm and was instrumental in securing explosives illegally for CIT ICE from Limpopo and Gauteng. The members from the task team then proceeded to the said holiday cottage and knocked on the door and allegedly identified themselves as police officers. The suspect opened the door, after which the members proceeded inside the premises and searched the lounge and found nothing suspicious. Now here the police knocked on the door, the suspect opened. If the suspect had anything to hide, he would have not opened the door. He would have shot at the police at the same time. The keys of the suspect's vehicle was found on the table. Some task team members took the suspect's girlfriend outside to the suspect's vehicle to search. Now they should have taken the suspect outside, not the girlfriend, because the vehicle belonged to the suspect. Two members were left to guard the suspect, and they were armed with R5 rifles and pistols. It is alleged that the suspect wanted to change, and the members accompanied him into the bedroom. The members allege that the suspect grabbed one of the SAPS members' R5 while at the same time pulling his firearm from under a pillow. The member alleged that he and the suspect lost balance. When the suspect got up, he fired his pistol in the direction of the member, missing him and his colleague. The member fired 4 rounds at the suspect, fatally wounding the suspect. The deceased sustained 4 gunshot wounds. Now, in this matter, Chair, Commissioner, you got 2 policemen who have R5 firearms pointed at you. Now, the suspect opened the door for these policemen.
One issue, false registration plates. Has any explanation been given for false registration plates?
Well, the members, when they were charged, they elected to remain silent. They could not provide an explanation regarding the false number plates. But we've identified that the reason the false number plates are used so they cannot be identified when shootings take place, or if they have to leave crime scenes prior to anyone coming to the crime scene. They are not identifiable.
But presumably the members involved in these shootings always... I mean, you are able to identify 3 task teams led by Captain Rodriguez. Is it Captain Govender?
He is now promoted to Lieutenant Colonel Govender.
And Colonel Kalichwayo.
Kalichwayo, yes.
So I still don't see the point of false number plates. I mean, in that context, you know who the task team leaders are. What is false number plates going to do?
Well, there was no explanation provided for the false number plates, but one would believe in order to not to be recognized because they don't use police uniform in most of the cases. These task teams don't use police uniforms. And if there is anything that happened contrary to the prescripts of the Criminal Procedure Act, then they can easily leave the scene without being identified.
Chair, we've run past.
Understand your narration of this incident, the Pinetown incident. Are you doing so with a view to advancing the idea that the task teams or some of them are infiltrated by criminal gangs? If so, how?
Chair, I would believe that they are being used by other taxi rival gangs. Because in this case here, the chairperson of the taxi in the Pinetown area was killed. And the police went all out looking for the other two. And when they found the first one, they found him at the airport. And he willingly took them to his friend's house. On that investigation where he was shot, the version of the police doesn't make sense. Because if you look at the bathroom where he was shot, there is nothing where you can put a firearm, either firearm under the zinc. There's no built-in cupboards there that you can put a firearm under the zinc. So the version is totally contradictory to the crime scene. And then they went all out for the second suspect. And when they went for the second suspect, you could see that they deliberately wanted to kill him, not realizing that the vehicle was a armor-plated vehicle. So that is why I believe that they were ordered by someone to take out those two these two suspects for murdering the chairperson of the taxi industry.
Thank you. Let's resume at 22:12. Let's adjourn.
Pertaining to the tow truck and drug turf wars.
You've given the reference. I'm not sure we're going to. I don't think we'll play it now. But
Okay.
if the commissioners want to click the link, they can in due course. You've already mentioned earlier on about collusion between
The police.
SAPS members and the tow truck owners. But at paragraph 59, you describe the main role players in the towing industry. Can you take the commission through paragraph 59?
Okay, the main role players in the towing industry in and around Durban and the areas of operation include the following, but they're not limited to these. I just highlighted a few. In Chatsworth, you got the UA, which is Ugly Americans, UA Ugly American Kings, Shilton's, Precision Towing Company, and Exhibit Towing Company. In the south areas, you got Unique Towings in Brighton Beach, Durban South Tow Lines, Central, M7 and the N2, Justin Tow Lines, Towing Industry, Higginson Highway to Abugotini area. In the Phoenix, you got G7 Tow Lines, Classic Tow Lines, and Ordain's Tow Lines. And Durban and surrounding, you got Roadstar Tow Trucks, Springtown, Asherville, Sydenham, Overport, and the N2.
Now, what you haven't mentioned in paragraph 59 is the tow truck company of Mr. Bevan Loftus. Do you recall what that tow truck company was called?
Okay, I put it down below.
Well, if I put it to you that it's first for KZN.
First, yes. Yes, that's right. First for KZN.
And
the other tow truck company that we look at is Roadstar tow truck.
and who is associated with Roadstar?
In the investigation, the police has indicated, or Dina Govender and his team indicated, that they went into the premises and the 5 DCs shot at them. But from our investigation, it is not as they have indicated. The 5 DCs were in a premises that nobody could go through the premises. They were in a flat, and in order to go to the flat, you have to get permission downstairs. The security will have to let you to go into the flat after they've communicated with the occupants of the flat. So, with the deceased being in the premises, they would not have allowed the police to come through because they knew the police were looking out for them to take them out. Because prior to the shooting, 2 of our members from IPED received intelligence from counterintelligence that the police, same Dina Govender and his team, were going to take out Bevan Loftus and whoever is with him. So my 2 investigators engaged with the DPP's office to do a Section 205, a 252 operation. They wanted to do a 252 operation in order to trap the police to when they were going to do the shooting. But with the discussion of the DPP, it was not going to be possible. Because if the police was arrested prior to the shooting, they would say that they're going for investigation. And if you, the only way to have prevented him from getting shot and killed was to ask him to change the place where he was staying. The 2 investigators contacted the father of the deceased, and that's Mr. Greg Loftus, and informed him that they received this information, this intelligence from a reliable crime intelligence source, and they are passing that information over to him that they can now ask Bevan Loftus and his friends to change the address where they are. But the father indicated that they also received the same information that the police was going to kill. In fact, prior to the shooting, the police the monthly take-home remuneration of Lieutenant Colonel Dina Govender from SAPS was less than 26,000.
Can I stop you there, and can we actually go to page 1246 of the exhibits bundle, 1246.
File number 3 on page 1246. The spine of the file will say file
number 3.
Sorry. Last time we said we should only show the relevant transactions and not files the whole thing. I don't know if you are ready with that. If not,
we don't have a redacted copy. There's no need to flight this.
All right. Thank you.
And if you look at the entry on 29 December, on that page, you will see the take-home salary that was that was paid to Lieutenant Colonel Govender on the 29th of December 2023.
That's correct.
And it is, if I can just point out to the commissioners that amount is less than 26,000 rands. That's the end of this period we're talking about. Can you then go to paragraph 66.2? Maybe before we go to paragraph 66.2, because you're talking about ABL records that reflect that Lieutenant Colonel Govender switched off his vehicle at a place 31 meters away from the address. It says Lieutenant Colonel Dina Govender, it should be Mr. Naika. Can I ask you to go to page 1428? Again in that same file, 1428.
The next one, file 4.
Mr. Pascalson, you say the same file?
It is the same file, file 3. It is file 4.
It's a
I
different file.
apologize.
1-4.
File 4. File 4, and it's 1428.
Mr. John, did you make the correction in 66.2 where it says at a place 31 meters away from the address of Lieutenant Colonel Dina Govender, it should be Mr. Clive Naika.
You will see that these are ABL records from SAPS. For whose vehicle are these ABL records?
Well, this AVL records are for the vehicle that Lieutenant Colonel Dina Govender used.
And if you look at the GPS coordinates under incident location, are those the GPS coordinates of the address of Mr. Naika?
That's correct.
The address that we just saw on the bank statement.
Yeah.
So if you can then go through paragraph 66.2. I think keep 142, 1427 open, because I'm going to ask you to explain with reference to 1427.
1600 hours, 29 seconds. The SAPS BMW vehicle issued to Lieutenant Colonel Dina Govender was switched off its ignition and stopped for 7.5 minutes at a place 31 meters away from the address, which is identified on the extract from the AVL records in the bundle.
And can you show to the Commission, if we go back to 1427, where do you see that?
You see it on the top first two lines. You got the first one, ignition off, and it gives you the address. And then you would see that there's a startup. So the ignition was switched off at 1600 hours, 29 seconds. And the startup was, the vehicle started again at 1600 hours, 07:50 at the same premises.
And that was on 16 August 2022.
That's correct.
Can you then take us through paragraph 66.3, but maybe before you go to 66.3, let's take the Commission to file 4, pages 1434 to 1435.
Okay, these are cash deposits that were made into the bank account of Lieutenant Colonel Dina Govender and his wife, who is also a SAPS member.
on the screen that's displayed, the column that says account is redacted, but there are various different accounts in the unredacted. And the references to the actual bank statements and their pagination in the 66.3.2.
66, okay. On the 15th of May 2023, cash amounts aggregating to a total of 179,800 Rand for the benefit of Lieutenant Colonel Dina Governor and his wife were deposited into the bank account of the conveyancers, attending to the transfer of a 2.3 million property that they had purchased.
And 66.3.3.
On the 19th of May, another cash deposit of 200,000 for the benefit of Lieutenant Colonel Dina Governor and his wife was paid to the conveyancing attorney.
Now, just for the benefit of the commissioners, the conveyancing attorneys, as was their duty, reported these cash deposits to the Financial Intelligence Center.
That's correct.
And a letter from the conveyancing attorneys can be confirming that these cash deposits were indeed made. Can be found at pages 1330 and 1331. Point 4.
On April, the 26th of April 2023, an amount of 298,462 rands was transferred into the home loan account of Lieutenant Colonel Dina Govender.
And are you able to source the origin of that transfer?
No.
66.4.
The cash amounts above aggregates to 2,414,150 Rand.
66.5.
When the unattributed transfer of 298,462 is added to this amount, the aggregate is 2,712,612 Rand.
And in 66.6, you refer to the bank statements and
Yes,
the spreadsheets. We've already taken them.
That's correct. That's correct.
Can you then go to paragraph 67?
67, on the 31st of March 2022, the day before Bevan Loftus was killed by the task team led by Lieutenant Colonel Dina Govender, his father, Mr. Gregory Loftus, applied to the High Court inter alia to interdict Lieutenant Colonel Dina Govender and the SAPS from killing Bevan Loftus. Mr. Loftus was a former SAPS member. He owned the adjacent property on which he and Bevan Loftus lived. That's Mr. Gregory Loftus. He was a former SAPS member.
And can I ask you to go to file 1, page 4? And can you identify the document that you see starting at page 4?
Yes, this is the court interdict that was sought for.
And the stamp of the court on that document, can you identify that?
It's dated the 31st of March 2023.
And what day was Bevan Loftus actually killed?
He was killed on the 1st.
The next day?
The next day.
So this application was issued the day before?
That's correct.
You say in paragraph, can I then ask you to
in his founding affidavit in the interdict application, Mr. Gregory Loftus alleged that Mr. Clive Naik had promised to pay Lieutenant Colonel Dina Govender 2.5 million to kill Bevan Loftus.
Then can I ask you to go to the bundle itself and to paragraph 18 of that interdict, the founding affidavit and the interdict application, at the foot of page 17, paragraph 18.
During 2022, both Bevan and myself received information that there was an assassination contract put on Bevan's life in the amount of 2.5 million. I also received information from a policeman. I know that the hit on my son was genuine. The word was that I should be careful because if they cannot kill Bevan, they would kill my son, Nicholas, or myself.
Back to paragraph 69, and then maybe if you can take us through the whole of paragraph 69 and its subparagraphs, and I'll stop you from time to time to amplify.
I have been informed that Mr. Loftus will testify before the Commission, so I do not repeat the details that is described in the interdict application of the interactions between the Loftus family and members of the SAPS and between Bevan Loftus and Mr. Clive Naika. I merely emphasize the following features of the chronological that emerges from the affidavit of Mr. Gregory Loftus in the interdict application. The financial records obtained by the Commission and the investigation into the killings that IPID have subsequently conducted. Between 29 August 2022 and the end of November 2022, over 430,000 was deposited in cash into the accounts of Lieutenant Colonel Dina Govender and his wife.
Can I stop you then? Can we go to page 14434 and going over the page to 1435, exceed in total 430,000?
From the 29th of August.
Which is the top of 143.
That's correct. Right up to the 10th of November.
And then if you go back to 69.2.
On the 13th of December 2022, Lieutenant Colonel Dina Govender, warrant of Sir Thanasekaran Sivan Naidu, together with other members of the task team, went to the home of Mr. Gregory Loftus looking for Bevan Loftus. The police officers cited Bel Air Cares 23 of 2, 2022 and Bel Air Cares 75 of 12, 2021 in relation to their search.
Now, we're going to go to these dockets now. In 69.4, you say they contain no evidence of consequence implicating Bevan Loftus. I want to put to you that it may be slightly overstated there. No evidence upon which Bevan Loftus could be convicted is what I want to put to you there. There is evidence against Bevan Loftus in these dockets, but it's not evidence on which a responsible prosecution would be launched. I want to submit.
Yes, the evidence that was contained in that docket was where his name was mentioned by the victim. And in one case, there was an alleged witness. But I think with both those statements, looking at the turf war between taxis and drug dealers, there is no conclusive evidence that would have convicted Bevan Loftus.
Well, maybe if we can go to those dockets, and if we start with the 2021 case, and if we can go to file 3, page 866.
This statement is made by the victim, Jonathan David Thomas.
And he describes on page 865 being confronted by a man telling him he's not allowed who wanted to know what he was doing there. If you pick up at the top of 866, and this is the identification of Mr. Loftus's involvement, the first identification of Mr. Loftus's involvement.
Yes.
Can you read paragraph 5?
The person by the name of Kupan, he was working for Loftus. He went on further to say that his boss, Bevan, had made it clear that Durban South is not supposed to operate in the area. I know Bevan Loftus to be the owner of First for KZN. He then said that he will fall in inverted commas with me, which means that they'll get involved with each other. I understood fall to be a slang word which is used as a threat to someone's safety. At that point, I felt threatened because I know that they were capable of carrying out their threats. I then drove away onto the N2 northbound on North Ramp and proceeded to the same spot where I was static on the M7 Edwin Swales Drive. I was parked in the same position which was under the trees on the M7 Edwin Swales Drive on the grass verge facing west. I was seated in the vehicle in the driver's seat and waiting for the next call out. I was still emotionally disturbed. Around 14:30, I observed a grey Toyota Corolla which was driven past me at high speed towards the N2 bridge. The driver suddenly stopped about 100 meters ahead and then made a U-turn and drove towards Wakesley Road, which was at the rear. There were 4 occupants in the vehicle. They appeared to be males, but I could not identify anyone. About 10 to 15 minutes later, I observed in my rearview mirror a grey car approaching slowly. Other motorists were overtaking this vehicle. It appeared to me that this vehicle was experiencing a mechanical problem. This vehicle then stopped next to me, which was within a 3-meter distance. I immediately recognized Bevan Loftus seated in the front passenger seat. Kupan was seated in the rear left passenger seat, and I am uncertain who the driver was. The vehicle was a grey Datsun Go 7-seater model. I was unable to retrieve the registration number. I immediately concluded that they were going to attack me. Bevan and Kupan then drew pistol-type firearms and started to shoot at me. I immediately tried to hide and opened my passenger door and managed to dive out. By then, I noticed that the vehicle was driven away, but they were still shooting at me. A little further down, they made a U-turn and drove back towards Wakesley Road. At that time, I was running into the bushes. I still had them in sight. After the vehicles disappeared, I returned to my vehicle. I immediately alerted everyone on the radio of the shooting. I managed to locate my cell phone in my vehicle when I heard it ringing. It was my